All right, welcome back to Unit 6, Lesson 1, Simplifying Expressions. We already went over the distributive property. We went over combining like terms. Now we're going to put them together and do them both together in the next slide. All right, so we're going to be utilizing rational numbers to apply the distributive property and identify and combine like terms to create a simplified expression. So in the first one, we have 15 plus 1.5 times y minus 5 minus 7.5. That looks a little confusing, but the first thing you do is apply the distributive property. So what are we distributing? We're distributing this 1.5 into the y minus 5. That's what we're going to distribute first. So now you'll notice I have 15 plus, in parentheses, 1.5 times y, minus, it's a minus because I have this minus sign right here, 15.5 times 5. So I distributed this 1.5. I think I said 15.5. I meant 1.5. Sorry. I distributed the 1.5 to the y and the 1.5 to the 5. And then I just brought down the other numbers, minus 7.5. All right, so now I'm going to do multiplication. I'm going to, this is pretty much the order of operations. So I'm going to multiply what's in my parentheses and bring that down. So I multiplied 1.5 times y. I brought that here. And then I brought down my 1.5 times 5 and put that right here. And I brought down my signs and then the other numbers that I haven't even used yet. I am going to now combine like terms. To help you out, I have color-coded and rearranged the expression above to show you what I am combining. I also stuck the left side in parentheses so you could see how they would all be combined together first before I move on. At this point, I combine them and simplify at the same time. When I do, I just end up with 1.5y. Why is that? Because 15 minus 7.5 minus another 7.5 gives me 0. So the only thing I'm left with is the 1.5y. And that is my simplified expression from the original expression that I have. Now we're going to move on to this one. We're going to do the distributive property first. I'm going to distribute this 1/2 into my parentheses. So now I have 1/2 times 4y plus, because that's a plus sign, 1/2 times 18, and I bring down my plus 2. I'm going to do my multiplication next. So 1/2 times 4y equals 2y. 1/2 times 18 equals 9. And then I bring down my plus 2. I'm going to combine my like terms. Again, I've color-coded it for you so you can see what I'm combining. I don't have anything to combine with my variable y, but I do have plus 9 plus 2. So 9 plus 2. And I'm going to simplify that by bringing down my 2y. 9 plus 2 is 11. Okay, so number 3. The first thing I'm going to do is the distributive property. I do that before I combine any of my like terms. You'll notice the trend here. That's the first thing that we're doing. Whether the distributive property is in the middle or it's the only thing or it's on the side, I am going to complete that step first. So I'm going to distribute this negative 2.5 into my parentheses. Remember, the sign stays with the number. So I have my negative 2.5 times negative 6y, negative 2.5 times 10. I'm going to go ahead and do that multiplication. So negative 2.5 times negative 6y equals 15y. And because a negative times a negative equals a positive. Negative 2.5 times 10 equals negative 25. Because a negative times a positive stays a negative. I'm then going to combine my like terms. I really don't have anything to combine, as you can see when I color-coded it for you. And so my simplified expression is just 15y minus 25. The only thing I did was take out this plus sign and kept that negative sign right there. All right, so the very last example, I'm going to do the distributive property. I'm going to distribute this 2/5 to 25y. And I did use the multiplication sign right here, so you can see that's multiplication. That is not a variable. 2.5 times 50 and then I bring down this negative sign because I'm subtracting. What I did right here was I put this whole number over 1. So that way you can see when I do multiplication how this is going to turn out. Oh my, I did mess up here. I put negative 25y. That is not good. It should be positive 25y. So let's see if I fix that in the end, which I don't. So my answer is going to be incorrect. So here's the mistake that I made. What I want you to do is I want you to correct it on your slide. Because that is a big mistake. This shows you why it's important to write down each step. Because if I come down here with my answer in the end, and then a teacher comes over or I'm on a test or whatever and I get it marked wrong, I need to know why. The first thing I do is I check to make sure my signs are correct. So this is a really good example of why writing down each step is important. We don't do it to torture you. We do it so we can say, oh, look, there's a simple mistake. So we're going to change that. And then it simply just quickly changes everything else to give you that correct answer. So I am in presentation mode and I actually cannot change that right now. But I will make sure that when I present this to the class that it will be changed. But here on this video, I want you to make that change right there. And then we'll go over what the correct answer should be. So anyway, when you multiply across 2 times 25, 5 times 1, and then you divide, that equals 50y, and then 5 times 1 equals 5. When I divide 50 by 5, I get 10y. That's how I get that, is you have to be able to do both of those steps. So when I do 2 times 50, that's 100. 5 times 1 is 5. 100 divided by 5 equals 20. That's how I'm getting these numbers. I need you to notice this. That's where you're multiplying a fraction by a whole number. You put that whole number over 1. Then we're going to combine our like terms. Again, this is incorrect. It should be 10y plus 25y. Because remember, right here, I accidentally changed it to a minus instead of leaving it as a positive. So yours will be a positive. Please make sure you make that change. And then I'm going to simplify, which is negative 15y minus 20. That's incorrect. It should be positive 35y minus 20. So please make sure you make those changes. I will be making those changes for the classroom presentation. Again, this is why, as teachers, we ask you to show your work and show each step. So that way, if you had this answer right there, I could go up there and go, well, where did we mess up? Well, right here is where we made our mistake. That simple correction then comes down to the answer of 35y minus 20. Not a negative 35, a positive 35y minus 20. So there's a really good example. Also, when you're doing the accountant work, we're talking about being an accountant during this time, that by showing your work and showing your steps, you can go back and find those mistakes as well. When you're trying to do finances or when you're trying to do reports or anything like that, again, take the time to show your steps. That way you can catch those errors, because in accounting, those errors actually can be costly errors. Here in school, we're just learning, so all it is just a small mistake. But later on, if you don't have this habit of showing all your work, then later on that could be some costly errors. That also could take you hours to try and find the mistake, when right here, it just took us a moment, and that was it. So anyway, now we're going to move on to independent practice after this.